is Eunice Mendoza. It's just Eunice Mendoza. I'm 16. I'm excited because I just got a job at Raising Cane's, so I'm going in for training today, actually, for my first day.
No,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, fun. Have you, is this your first big girl job?
Kind of, because, so I volunteer a lot.
Okay.
So my first, job was really, because I was at Palomar for a long time, doing just volunteer work and helping nurses and whatever.
Nice.
And so it was scheduled. It was every Saturday I would go in for 4 hours, and then I'd go home. I'd get my Starbucks. And then but technically this is my big girl job.
Yay!
This is my first big girl job.
So fun. Do you have, I know because Cane's is open for a really long time, 2 a.m. or something. Do you have normal shifts?
Technically, because I'm 16, I'm not allowed to be late because I also got my license fairly recently.
Oh, okay.
So I'm also not allowed to drive past 11.
Yeah.
So then I'm only working they're only making me work from 5 to 8.
Okay.
Which is
whatever,
fine, but
some money, some experience.
It's still money.
Something on the resume.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you work you said at a hospital?
Yeah.
Or volunteer?
Yeah.
Do you want to go into medicine?
I do, actually. So for the longest time, so my mom's a nurse, so I always wanted to be something medical, but I just didn't. I don't really want to do what she does, because she actually works at the jail, and she does their clinical stuff at the jail,
that's interesting.
which is so it's really cool, but it's also something I really don't want to go into. It's a little too much intensity for me.
Right.
So for the longest time, I wanted to go into a BSN program, but I realized it's just really, really competitive, and I'm not gonna get the type of fluency that I want through college. Okay. So I'm actually gonna try to go into college for psychology.
Nice.
And then after psychology, I wanted to go into medical school, go into dermatology.
Nice.
Because dermatology goes into a lot of stuff about the mind and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Fun softball question.
Okay.
What do you feel is a talent that you have that no one knows? Or few people know? Very few people know.
Actually, I don't know. I think for me, I just pick up on stuff really quickly. So, I ask so many questions when it first comes about, but I'm such a person that is really flexible.
Okay.
I'm really easygoing. I think a lot of people don't realize that I'm very how do I say this? I feel a lot of people just don't realize that, because I'm such an outward person. I'm very I'm this, because at school I'm also I'm an ASB, so
nice.
Yeah, so then a lot of people just assume that I'm fairly loud and I'm a little bit obnoxious.
No,
but I think for me, when you somewhat try to get to know me, it's a very small part of people that do get to actually know me and get to know who I am.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's really a talent, but I think
I feel a good word for that is you can morph into
a little bit
different
yeah, but I don't want to be listed as two-faced.
No, not not two-faced. More just you. What's a good word?
I don't know.
I don't. You're fluid. You can be one thing at one time and one thing at another time. And I think that's not two-faced. It's just you can assimilate into different worlds. I think that's a good... Yeah, I feel I'm the same way. I feel sometimes I'm an extrovert, sometimes I'm a massive introvert. And I'm just it's just one of those days. You know?
I have the worst social... Because people will think that I'm such a social person, but it's big groups that actually terrify me, because so my school is maybe 800 900 kids at most. I'm not a private school, I'm at a charter school. So then I kind of just know everyone, I grew up with everyone, and I feel calm in my environment, whatever. But I went to one of my friend's homecomings, and he goes to Del Norte, and Del Norte is such a big school with so many people that you don't even know who you're walking next to, and that's terrifying to me.
That's terrifying. Girl, wait for college. You're gonna have a blast.
I'm so excited for college, but the thing is, I'm so nervous about because I'm trying to get into all these big colleges, and I'm wait, I don't know if that's
I mean, there's so much upsides and downsides to college wherever you go. It's if you're a person that really likes smaller classes and you more that intimacy, I feel you can find that everywhere. Like for me, example, I went to UCSD, giant school, huge, but I had so many classes where it was like 20 people. Oh. So it's like I still had, but then I had classes where it was 200 people. Mm-hmm. So it's like I still got best of both worlds. And like when I didn't want to, you know, like sometimes it was overwhelming, but like then I'm like, oh, in an hour I have a class where it's like 15 people and I can just like chill and be by myself. Mm-hmm. So I feel like don't worry about that. More just like think about obviously you're 16, you're kind of a long way away. Not really, but like a year and a half, or two. When you're thinking about college and like where you want to go, think about like where you're going to find yourself happiest, not where you're going to find yourself like most, I kind of don't know how to describe this. I feel like when I was choosing schools, I was like, where am I going to find myself most like stable and comfortable? But like at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm glad I got out of my comfort zone. Like I'm glad, you know, I wasn't super comfortable. Like it's kind of because you need to learn to be uncomfortable sometimes, and I think college really helps with that. Oh yeah, like be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Yeah. What did you major in? I majored in human developmental sciences. Oh, okay. I was a STEM girly, but I didn't go down that route in terms of career. But I loved it just because it was a major that I really got to kind of carry out with me, because it had a lot to do with psych and like sociology and stuff like that. So I feel like I learned to use it in everyday life. And I feel like it made me a better person when speaking to people and like knowing people, because it's like I know your brain, like, you know, I know what you're thinking, like I know how you work. So I feel like you're gonna have a lot of fun in psychology, because that's all it is. Like, I'm so excited to do it, but the thing is I'm like man, if I don't go into like clinical, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. No, but that's college. Like you're gonna learn so much and you're gonna change your mind. Like I'm not even gonna lie to you, you're gonna change your mind and it's gonna be great, because you're allowed to change your mind in college. I think that's the beauty of it all. I know you're just 16 and you know that's like 2 years away, but it'll come by way faster than you think. Okay, moving on. So what do you feel like is an extracurricular project or like something that you've done outside of school or at school that you're really proud of working on, and why? That I'm proud of working on, honestly, like I said, I'm in ASB, right? So I kind of skipped. So my freshman year, I didn't get into ASB because I signed up to be a rep, and then I just ultimately didn't get it. But like, what can you do? But my sophomore year, I got vice presidency like right away. Nice. And that was like really big for me, just because I like love people. Right. Like for me, I'm such a people person. Yeah. Like I'm normally really social. I will like go out of my way to compliment someone that I don't know. Yeah. You know? And so for me, when it comes to like ASB, that was just like such a big like project for me as a whole. Like just like homecomings and like spring formals and like days and things like that, and you're gonna get like the complaints and stuff that people are like, oh, I don't really like this spirit day, whatever. Oh yeah. But for me, ASB is such like, it brings such like a joy in my life, just because it's so much like you're kind of always working with people. Along with like working with people, you're also like very much like the first person that they come and complain to. But I think I'm really proud of the fact that like a lot of people are able to rely on me. Yeah. Like there was like, I've talked to like a few of my friends, and there's like some people that I don't really know that well, but they'll come up and talk to me and be like, oh, so when are we doing this? And I'm like, wait, I'm in charge of that? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, I just assumed you would be. And that for me was like kind of like, oh, okay. But it was also like, for me, I thought about it later. I was like, it's so nice that people can come up to me and just like rely on me to like give them like some sort of fun. Yeah. You know? And that's like your senior year and your like last few years of high school is like some of like the most fun that you should have. Yes. You know, like it's so fun, especially at this age. Yeah. And like them being able to rely on me to bring that type of fun to them is so like rewarding. Not really like rewarding while you're doing it, because it's so stressful. Yeah. But once you actually do it, it's just like you're in the moment and you're like, man, I'm so happy that like there's so many people here like enjoying it, and it's like it's not all because of me, but like a lot of it, like everything that I did, all of like the random hours that I spent like just sitting here organizing things was like so worth it. Yeah, because you like see your hard work in person, and it's nice. Yeah, it's that, and then it's probably tied with like
for Red Cross, I do a lot of random things with Red Cross. Whenever like people will come up to me after like Red Cross events, like random people that we just helped, and they're just like, oh, you like, how old are you? I'm like, oh, I'm 16. And they're like, you know, like, I don't know a lot of people will do this, but you really like helped me and you did this and this. And I didn't like do a lot. I feel like all I did was like talk to them for like a little bit, and they like opened up about their stories and stuff, and it's just so like rewarding to feel that like you kind of helped someone.
No, I'm sure. So. And it's like, obviously it shows that you want to go into like a career that continues to help people. So I think just as a person, that's a very beautiful attribute. But in terms of like, because I feel like you're just like a natural born people person. That's not something that you kind of like learned, something that you just have. In terms of like giving advice to someone that either struggles with like putting themselves out there, or like being that like dependable person, if they are looking to be that type of person, what do you feel like is a good piece of advice to give them to start? So for me, when it came to, this is like random, but it's for volleyball too. So what I would always tell whoever was like hitting was always like never to doubt yourself in the moment, because the thing with doubting yourself is that like you don't know if it could go either way. Most of the time it can go either way, but then there's always like things where it's like never doubt yourself if you feel like your heart is in the right place. That's a great piece of advice. I feel like, you know, obviously it's a common saying, we're our worst enemies. Like, we are our worst enemies. So that's a really great piece of advice, especially just to like give to younger people, because I think that like the stage that you're in is a very pinnacle point of like taking that advice. Like you need to take it and grab it and keep it. So very good answer. Okay, moving on. Obviously you want to go into higher education. You are in school right now. There is a, like, you know, there is a definition for this word, but in your life, in your experiences, in how you see it, what does education mean to you? So growing up, it was such like a thing where like you should be really good at school, and I never really like understood it. I was just kind of like, okay, whatever, school. And gradually as I grew up, I kind of like started to learn like my own mom's story. And my mom's like straight from the Philippines. Like she's from like basically dirt, like, you know, and she brought herself up through being really smart. Like a lot of people kind of gave her, I wouldn't say gave her, but like a lot of people kind of gave her the extra like push when it comes to money and stuff, just because she was like, she's a hard worker and she's smart. And so, and it led her to being here today. And like, it's like just her hard work and her spirit like is so, you look at it and you're just like, you're like, I want to be like that. And like for me, she's like one of my biggest heroes for that. But she also taught me like the value of education, just because I feel like education for me now, at least, I value it so much differently than when I was younger, just because I know that it took her somewhere. And I think like money and like, you know, other people can take you into like certain things, like, okay, whatever, it can like get you far, but I think the value of education does not, like, it will take you farther than anything that someone will like that really anything can give you, because like money can only go so far until you run out, or things like that. That's such a like, I feel like such a beautiful way of looking at it, because like I feel like a lot of the time people look at education in terms of like, I'm going to study this, I'm going to go through these steps, and then I'm going to get this job at the very end. But it's like, okay, fine, you have that job, and then what? And then like, what? Are you truly that fulfilled? Like, do you feel happy in your life? Like there are like a, you know, select few that do end up in their dream jobs and they're super happy, and it's like, because that's all they've ever wanted. But I feel like, you know, there are also a select few that are more like intuitive with like life, and like they want more than just like that 9 to 5. And like you said, like it's, I feel like a very powerful goal is to be wise and not just like educated in your field. So I really love that take. I think I feel like that propels people farther in life, not just like stopping at that end, like that goal that you had. It propels them to learn more and like want to seek more in terms of like education and knowledge. I love that. Okay, so you want to study psychology. You are 16. you haven't learned everything yet.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like, you know, you're going to go into college very soon. What do you feel like is a topic or skill that should be taught in schools, either in high school or college, that isn't?
This is kind of like a random one, but I feel like finance a lot of the time.
Oh, it's not a random one.
Which is like very like, yeah. Like, I feel like everyone will say that, and yet we'll still not learn it when the opportunity comes. But I feel like finance is a big thing for me just because I'm such a person that, like, man, if I have, like, $20 in my pocket, I'm spending $20, you know? And it's so bad. Like, I need to, like, actually calm down sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, if that burger looks good, I'm just gonna buy it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
My next question is, tell me about someone who has left a very big impact on you and why.
Big impacts, like, definitely my mom, first off, because I wouldn't be here without her. But she's also, like, she's just the most, like, hardworking person that I know. I think I took that for granted when I was younger because she was always working, like, night shift. So she was, like, I don't want to say she wasn't that present because she was, but it was just that, like, she was out, like, working all the time and doing this and this. And, like, I respect her so much because the thing is that, like, I talk to her now and she's like, oh, I regret, like, missing so much time with you guys because it's kind of like it was hard to miss out on, like, those things. I really respect her, like, spirit and her work ethic because she's also, like, one of the most hardworking people I know. Like, she's such a person that will, like, keep going no matter how tired she is, and I respect that so much because I can't, like, sometimes it gets to a point where I'm like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. So I'm like, you know, but for her it's just that, like, it's not only that she's, like, an immigrant, it's that she's, like, a single parent. Biggest inspiration, biggest, like, most hardworking person ever. She takes so much crap from me and my brother, plus, like, everyone. She takes so much of it and she just takes it like a grain of salt. Like, she takes it like a champ, and I really respect her for, like, her work ethic. I hope that, like, one day I'm just as hardworking as her.
Was it like growing up, I feel like you said she works as a nurse for the jail? Was that, like, something that you kind of had to, like, adjust to as a child? Because I feel like that's the first time I've ever heard of a nurse that works in a jail.
It's
a super cool job.
It is cool. She used to send me, like, pictures of, like, really gory stuff, and she'd be like, have a good lunch, and I'm like, okay, so thanks, that's Mom. Not nice. But she's like, what was cool about it was, like, I didn't really need to adjust to it because I kind of, like, didn't really know what was happening. She, like, didn't really tell me exactly her job until I was, like, older. I just thought it was, like, jail, like, in, like, this is gonna sound dumb, like, Roblox jail. You know, like, the games. So I was like, oh, that's light. Right? And so she met, like, her boyfriend while he wasn't the prisoner. Right, no. But he's a sergeant now. But we didn't, like, the biggest adjustment that, like, even related her job was, like, when she met him, she was, like, adamant how they were just friends. And I was like, be for real. Like, be for real. But she, like, that was, like, a big adjustment because my grandma also didn't really like him. I don't know why. She just didn't like him. Like, didn't like the thought of her, like, even getting close to remarrying. So then like, the biggest adjustment was just, like, accepting him because there was a point in my life where I was like, I don't care if you're happy, I don't like him because my grandma, like, was very adamant about it.
So you kind of like meshed into that too. Cool. Okay, do you feel like there's, like, a cause or social issue that you're really passionate about, and why is it important to you?
Like, microbullying is like a big thing for me because you know, those people, like, microbullying is like when it's not the stereotypical I'll push you into a locker and I'll make fun of you, whatever. It's like when those girls in class are like, you say something a little bit weird and they're just like, you know what I mean, like, and then they'll talk about you later and, like, things like that. For me, when it comes to, like, social issues, that's, like, a big thing to me just because it's also, like, it's just so harmful for, like, for girls growing up, especially because for me, when I was younger, I wouldn't say I was, like, plus size, but when I was younger, I was, like, fairly, like, bigger than most of the girls just because I was also, like, fairly tall when I was younger. So then I think I always got the, like, things from, like, I never got like crap from girls, but I always got crap from like guys. And so when I was growing up, it was a lot of like microbullying, like things you couldn't go to the principal about because it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But it's also like really harmful. So for me, it's just like I feel like it's a lot about like just teaching kids to be like nicer.
If you could like give a piece of advice to someone that's either like in your position wanting to help someone that is struggling with getting out of a bad situation or is being bullied or feels like the problems that they're going through isn't able to be categorized in some way, like people are being mean to them, but like is it considered bullying or not? What do you feel like is a good piece of advice to give them in order to kind of take that initiative to betterment?
So I feel like if you are getting like kind of bullied to the point where it's not like something you should bring up, honestly I would just never like I would tell them to not really let that kind of define who they were,
right?
Just because like I'm such a person now, at least, that tries to be myself like 100% of the time, just because it like affected me so bad not being like who I am, like trying to be someone that isn't like doesn't make me happy, and like I don't want to be like that, you know? So I feel like if you are being like, you know, microbullied into like to the point where you want to like change yourself, like never try to, it goes into the fact like don't doubt yourself, still be 100% you. You know, when people are like, oh, it's your first date, don't be you, like that's so weird to me, because I'm just like, be you, the right people will always follow. Like, you know, you're always going to be in a better situation later, like, you know. And then if you like want to help those people, I feel like for me, when you see someone getting like that type of like treatment, for me, I'm kind of outright, so I kind of am always like, okay, so don't do that, like you're weird for doing that. You know what I mean? Like I'm always a person that kind of stands up for that like type of blunt, person, a little bit. So then for me, when it comes to those types of people, I think for me, I would just always like try to reassure those people who are doubting themselves. And then when it comes to like drugs and people who are affiliated with that type of stuff, if you want to help them, I think you should just try to surround them with people who like, because those types of people, they want friends, essentially. They just want friends, and they want people that are like that. And the best that you can do is to help them surround themselves with people who will show them that they are likable and that they're like loved with or without. And try to get them out of like a situation. If it's gotten to the point where like they don't want help, you can't try to help them. For me, I feel like I've always tried to help people that don't want it, and it's like that type of stuff is hard to like get them out of, because if they don't want to help themselves, you can't help them anymore. Like that's just hard. Like you can do the most that you can until there's just no more that you can do.
You kind of give up. I completely agree. Okay, so it's kind of my last question. What do you feel like has been a challenge that you've had to really work through, and how do you feel like it shaped you to the person I'm speaking to today? Okay, so this is fairly recent. So a few weeks ago, I had quit basketball. And for me, basketball was a really big part of my life. Not for the reason like, oh, I love to just shoot the ball. You know, that was not like, for me, that was not a, you know, but it was mostly because growing up, I was not very close to my dad. I think me and my dad just really had nothing in common. The only thing we really had in common was sports, and it was mostly just basketball. It was not anything else. So through most of my childhood, I was playing basketball. Up until recently, I was playing basketball through like, you know, every week, every like at least weekend. So I think that quitting basketball for me was just really hard, just because I've never wanted to be a quitter. I've never like, I've always like kind of pressured myself into never quitting on something. But quitting basketball felt more like I was quitting on like the relationship that I had with my dad than anything. Like I got so much crap from like everyone for quitting, but the thing was that like it was single-handedly, like it sounds dumb, but it's like single-handedly one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. And it's just because I was like giving up on the relationship that I had tried to with my dad. And like now that I quit, it just feels like, oh, I'm not really gonna have that relationship with him anymore, because we don't have anything in common. And he was also just not really that present. So like it kind of
that for me has been like, it's still going, but it's like a very big thing with like self-growth, because for me, I just feel like because after like kind of like separating myself from him, it feels like kind of like a weight lifted off my shoulders, because now I don't need to overachieve just to get like some sort of approval from him. And I also feel like I've just come to the realization that like just because it feels like I'm not like really like enough for him doesn't mean that I'm not enough for the people around me. Like there's so many, I think people as a whole get lost in the fact that like they want like that one person's approval. Like you're gonna pay attention to the one person that gave you like crap for this rather than like the hundreds of people that were saying like good things about it, you know? And so for me, I feel like what was great about it was the fact that like ever since then I've been trying to like focus on the people that really matter, like keep the people that are good like close, and then the people that say this or do this to me, it doesn't really affect me anymore like it did, because it used to affect me a lot what people had to say about me, what people like, you know, because when I was in ASB, I was like, that's a big like almost like popularity contest,
right?
And it just felt like I was constantly looking for like that one person that didn't like me that much to get them to like me. And I think after the whole like thing with my dad, after kind of separating myself, it was a lot easier for me to like kind of be like, I don't really care what you think, and if I'm 100% me and there's people in the world that like me for being me, that doesn't mean that like I need to go and seek your approval, you know?
No, I it's obviously very hard, because like, you know, there's a difference between like, you know, a friend and then like a family member, and having that kind of feeling. And I think for like, obviously you mentioned that your mom is, you know, has always been like that single parent, and you've always kind of had her to lean on, but it's also, you know, you want to have that relationship, and if it's not being formed even after like countless amounts of like trying, and like you're putting, you know, effort into doing something that he enjoys, that you can bond over, and it's just not working. And it's very beautiful that you kind of you figured out that like, you know what, I am enough. Like I am enough, and if one person doesn't think that I am enough, then that's fine, because like you said, there's 100 other people that think I am, and that think I'm perfect, and the most important is that you realize that you are more than enough. So in terms of like coming to that conclusion, how do you feel like what helped you get through that, and what do you feel like is something that you could kind of give as a piece of advice to someone who is also battling that same type of like inner thing of like, am I enough, am I not enough, what can I do more?
I think the biggest thing for me when I was like going through the am I enough, am I not enough, was like just taking a step back and looking at the people who do think you're enough. Like there's gonna be like so many people that are going to hate on you for like no reason, and that's always hard to think about. But like I think we just get lost in like wanting like that one person, right? So it's like for me, my biggest advice is just to like take a step back and just to like observe the things around you, because I'm such a people watcher. So it's like for what helped me too was the fact that there's like kind of being able to look back and realize, I think the word is like sonder or something.
Oh, okay.
But the word sonder is just like realizing that everyone around you has a different like life, and everyone goes through their own struggles. So what helped me the most was just the fact that like, man, I quit basketball, I don't have a relationship with my dad, that sucks, right? But being able to step back in school and looking at like everyone around me, and I'm like, you go through a lot. Like you go through a lot too, and it doesn't devalue what I went through, but it also doesn't like make it any more like, I guess, like significant.
Right.
Like being able to look at other people and being like, oh, you also go through this. It feels like for me, I was at a constant, when I was saying like, oh, I'm not enough, whatever, I was going through like a constant battle of like loneliness. Like I felt like out of everything, I felt the most like lonely,
right.
just because I felt like I was going through it by myself.
Right.
But like stepping back and being able to like look at the people around you is such like a big like mind changer,
yeah.
because you start looking at everyone around you and realizing they have their own problems,
yeah.
and they might even be going through like even more than you, and yet they're still here,
yeah.
and they probably feel the same way.
Yeah.
So like being able to stick with some of those people and being able to like give them a support system along with like in return too,
yeah.
is like probably one of like my biggest things too.
Yeah.
Hey YouTube, if you enjoyed this person's story, don't forget to subscribe below to hear more from our inspiring youth. If you want to apply for our Storyteller Scholarship or get more involved in our organization, click the link below to apply. Thanks for watching!